1 million people. 1 million people. That's how many live full-time in their RV in the United States of America. In the United States of America, we have a population of about 350 million people. So 1% of 350 million would be 3.5 million. So for the 1 million people that live full-time in their RV, they're a half of 1%. Therefore, it is fair to say that 99.5% of the United States of America live in an apartment or house. That is a conforming way to live. However, there are the 0.5%, the half of 1%ers, the RVers, full-time RV. See, when we're talking about the 1 million people who live full-time in their RV, we're not talking about someone who has a house and parks their motorhome next to their house or parks their travel trailer next to their house. We are talking about people who don't have a house, who don't have an apartment complex. All they have is their vehicle. Now, out of the 1 million people that live in their RV, there's no real clear statistics on how many people live in their car or van. So, statistically speaking, I think there's about 550,000 people in America that are homeless. So that's like 1/4 of 1%. So, I guess people who live in their car or van could be considered in that realm. I think I read one time that you're considered technically homeless if you don't own a home and if you haven't been on a lease agreement for at least 6 months. So either way, in this video, I'm kind of reflecting on the statistics and the way that society lives. Society in the United States of America, and just about any country, has this standard form of housing. Again, a house, brick and mortar, sticks and bricks, whatever people call it. An apartment, same thing. Certainly there's some mobile homes which are similar to an RV, but the conforming way to live is pretty much a stationary life. A fixed location with really no ability to move the house and you. Now, you can own a home or lease an apartment, and you can move, but you're not going to move with your house with you. And when you live full-time in an RV, that is the major difference. Is that at any time, all you have to do is start your RV or tow your RV if you have a travel trailer, and you are ready to move. There's no closing process. There is no rent, lease agreement termination. There is pretty much just logistically coordinating where you plan to travel or where you plan to move, and then, start your vehicle and go. And that is the allure of the RV life or van life or car life, is that even though you are a half of 1% in society, there is an amazement, there is somewhat an appeal to that lifestyle. I mean, that is why people who live their whole life, one of their retirement dreams is to travel. And some of them choose to buy an RV, and sometimes an expensive one. Sometimes these RVs are just as much, if not more, than a regular house. And so why do people want to do that? Well, they want to do it because you can take your home with you everywhere you go. And that's a great adventure. Okay. And however, it's not necessarily a great normal standard. And the reason it's not a normal standard, 1 million people sounds like a lot of people. But again, in percentage of the population in America, as an example, 350 million, it's less than 1%. So the reason the normal standard is an apartment or house is because humans settle in an area and they build up that area. And then there's infrastructure to support that area. And then, that provides a community to grow and to be able to thrive in one area. Okay. Now, certainly there's good and bad communities. Certainly there's a personal preference on what type of area within a country you want to live. One of the key terms of America, which it's referred to, but of course there's North America and South America. But one of the things about the United States of America is that it has 50 states that are united under the federal government, and that at any time, any citizen of the United States of America that lives in any state can just pack up and move, and they have all the rights of a USA citizen. And that's a unique thing, because if you think about America, we have Alaska. Okay, shout out to one of my channel members, ESP, great woman. She lives in Alaska, which is a very Arctic climate. And we have Florida. Shout out to me. I live in Florida, which is a very tropical Caribbean climate. Two opposites, and at two different ends of the country. And if you live full-time in an RV, if you're 1 million, if you're one of the 1 million, then you can spend your winter in Florida and you can spend your summer in Alaska or wherever else, and you are still in your same country. You have a completely different climate, a completely different terrain, but the difference in being a full-time RVer is you can take your home anywhere that there are roads and you're able to travel. So, you know, and even if there wasn't roads, you know, you can certainly get your RV shipped somewhere. I've seen some Europeans come to America and travel around, and they get their RV shipped here. I don't know all the logistics of that. But, you know, I've taken some time to reflect, you know, as I've been living in my car for 4 years. Now, whether or not I'd be classified technically as a full-time RVer, well, probably not, because I don't live in an RV. I'd probably be technically classified as a homeless person, part of the 0.25%, you know, the quarter of 1% of society. You know, that's amazing when I think about it. I am a quarter of 1% in the entire country. It's interesting. You know, sometimes I say, why are people watching it? Watching because you're crazy as shit. Well, I'm not crazy. I'm pretty, you know, sane. I'm a stable genius. But they're watching me because, you know, this is a very unique life. And it has a lot of allure. The allure is that you have your home everywhere you go. From a very simple sales pitch, that's it. Okay. From a very realistic standpoint, there's a lot of downfall. There's a lack of stability. There is a lack of amenities, especially when we're talking about a car versus an RV. But I want to stay focused on the lifestyle itself, which, even though I live in my car, I live very much an RV lifestyle without the amenities, and that's the negative. Because remember, an RV, whether a motorhome or travel trailer, just about all of them have fully self-contained units. They have a bathroom, they have a kitchen, and they have a sleeping quarters. And that's what the human needs, obviously, to live. Okay, so that's a house. You could call it a tiny home, you can call it an RV, but it's a house because, you know, all a house does, whether it has 20 bathrooms or one bathroom, has a bathroom, kitchen, and a bedroom. And, you know, what I found amazing when I lived in a condo for 15 years, I had about 1,000 square foot condo. I only spent time, well, I only really used probably about 150 or 200 square feet. You know, my bedroom, really just, you know, my mattress, and, you know, my bathroom and my kitchen. You know, certainly when I was younger, I entertained. So if you like to entertain friends and things like that, that's different. If you're in that season of life and you have that personality, that's the value of extra space. If you're an entertainer, if you have family with you, etc. So, you know, back to the main message of this video, being a full-time RVer, being one of the 1 million, being one of the half of 1% of society. Is it for you? Well, you know, there's people that do it for a long time. However, the odds are you'll never do it. That's the odds, you know. You know, it's like, you know, if you were playing the odds in Atlantic City, or any, you know, Las Vegas, whatever, if you were playing the odds in a casino, that you would be a full-time RVer, not a part-time, not you having a motorhome parked outside your house. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm using this example. If you were in a casino and the odds, okay, were 99.5 to 0.5, not even 99 to 1, 99.5 to 0.5, you have a 0.5, you have a half of 1% chance of winning. or you have a half of 1% chance of living this life. That's your odds, if you were betting. Okay. So now if you become a full-time RVer, you already beat the odds. If you keep doing it, it's just like, it's amazing. Now, again, there's certain people that do it and they don't have a lot of money, so that's not that amazing. And there's certainly a lot of them just end up finding a RV park and they stay there and they don't do much traveling. Even me now, towards the end of my journey here, at least as far as a lot of things, for me, it's making the decision either to buy a home base or maybe an RV. But, probably the only time I really do extended traveling at this point is probably just to get away from hurricane season in Florida and travel up north in the summer. Because it makes sense. I mean, I like that flexibility. Why stay, as long as you can support yourself on the road, why stay in an area that has bad weather that time of year? To me, it's like, I don't, again, obviously, unless you have family. Family is what keeps most people, this is the key point right here. One of the key points. Family is what keeps people from living a full-time RV life. Because, either you're raising a family or you have family living with you, or you don't want to leave your family for an extended period of time. Now, if you're a retiree, you may say, look, I've raised my family, I'm an empty nester, and now I want to live this life where I take my home everywhere I go. And that's what most people on the road, believe it, most people on the road who live full-time in an RV, they're not destitute, they're retirees. They're baby boomer retirees. There's some that are destitute and maybe a junky RV. There's some that are middle-aged people that are able to work remotely, whether traveling nurse, whether technology, etc. So, my thoughts in this video are just know the odds. And I think me just talking them out and providing some clarity, some structure to the lifestyle and the percentages and how it's different and why it's different a little bit. This is just one layer of the conversation. But I believe this layer, to talk it out and to share it with you, has value, okay? And can spark something in you to give it thought if it's a lifestyle that you're looking at. Because many people watch my channel, that's a big part of it. They're looking at the nomadic lifestyle. And I would say even many of them are just looking at a part-time, or they just find it interesting. And then there's some that are doing it full-time, but very few. I would say there's probably 1% of my channel are actually living full-time in their RV or car. Because most of the people on my channel, even that were living in a car at one time, they're not anymore. Or they're part-timers. So, it goes back to the percentages. 99.5% of society will never live full-time in their RV, especially not for a long period of time. And probably even less than that in a car or van. So it doesn't mean it's not possible. It doesn't mean it's not still a great life. It doesn't mean any of these things. But it does mean, look, when you add up all the cost of RVing, the cost of the rig, the cost of the fuel, the cost of the campgrounds. Because again, when you get into the RV realm, you're going to spend more in gas and more in campgrounds. If you don't go to campgrounds, you're going to be moving a lot, or you got to be very careful where you park. And, you get to a certain point, I could just rent a cheap room or just rent a small apartment or just buy a small house or whatever and be very comfortable in price and then be in a community that I know and I like and that whatever, So, I guess the real value of a snowbird in many senses is after you're done exploring whatever part of the country you want to look at, is to just travel with the weather. I think there's really two aspects of being a full-time RVer. Number one is just to travel and see new things. And then number two is to travel with the seasons. When it's summer, you head up north somewhere. When it's winter, you head down south. And most people end up coming to Florida because it's the warmest state in the United States of America in the winter. So, that's kind of how it all breaks down. But hopefully this video helped you. If it did, click that blue join button if you want to support the channel, and it'll give you unlimited access to all my live feeds, which I do every night, God willing. And there's no commitment. You can cancel at any time. Check out my playlist. I appreciate all my members. I appreciate all my viewers. I'm doing the best I can. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next video. Peace.